Okay, let's switch gears now and focus on Premier League player power rankings. This is something that causes a lot of debate every week when I put it up on PST. Usually I have a list of the top 20 players on current form, just kind of rank them, moving up and down the list based on how they're doing. Now would be a good time, I think, to go through and select who are the top 5 players in the Premier League right now. There's different ways you can do this, right? It's either based on their actual skill and class as a player, who were the top 5 players, or I like to do it on form. Who are the top 5 players at the peak of their powers right now in the Premier League? I think that's a good way to do it. But I'm intrigued to see the comments, by the way, when this video is released below. Everyone's going to agree with this. I think everyone can agree that it's acceptable that Man City and Arsenal players are dominating this list right now if you look on current form, because those two teams have had incredible starts to the season. But that's not to say that there's players further down the table that are having great campaigns as well. So let's start at number 5. Obviously, lads, this is open to debate, but I've gone with Joao Cancelo at Manchester City at number 5. I think his assists, his goals, the general flexibility and versatility, playing on the right or the left or even popping up centrally. I don't see a better really fullback in the game right now. I'm going to regret saying that probably. But Andy wants to jump in already, I can see, with number 5.
No, you won't regret saying that because it's absolutely true. Obviously, a very different style to what we see with Trent Alexander-Arnold or Reece James, even, getting forward and providing all that wide service, much more kind of a central midfielder / wingback hybrid type player. I think Cancelo makes Man City go in a way that when he's not available, I don't think they function quite properly. And we've seen that the last couple of years, I think, because just the possession and the ball progression that he offers from the wingback spot. I watched Spurs labor through the Champions League on Wednesday. A player like that into that Spurs team, a player out wide that can get the ball forward and combine and create, I think would be the missing piece. And so as Haaland gets all of the plaudits for the goals and De Bruyne gets all the plaudits for the assists, I think Joao Cancelo is probably the third most important player in that team. And I would just assume, without peeking ahead, he'll probably be the third ranked Manchester City player on this list as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of Man City players, to be fair, in this top 5. But again, it's open for debate. We can make our own top 5. Nick, on to number 4. I've gone for Granit Xhaka for Arsenal. I just think he embodies what's going on at Arsenal right now. You've got a lot of the young players, but then he's a player that many of us thought would never be around at Arsenal as long as this, given what happened in the past with the fans and the reaction. But Mikel Arteta has always seen something in him with his quality. And we've seen that now of goals and big moments. And alongside Thomas Partey, they are the heart and soul of this Arsenal team, at least from a defensive standpoint, it seems, in the engine room there. They've really just helped knit the entire team together. So Gabriel Jesus and William Saliba and Gabriel Martinelli are just outside the top 5 in my rankings. But what do you think about Granit Xhaka at number 4? Is that a fair reflection on his current form in the Premier League and how it all stacks up?
So yes and no. Yes, I think he's kind of their spirit animal. You see him bringing the guys together. He is not really so much the 4th player in the rankings for me as he is a reflection that Arsenal needs to be in the discussion after the Man City guys we talk about. I actually think that if you were to ask me to rank Arsenal, like put one person here, it'd be hard for me to go against a guy you didn't mention, and that's Martin Odegaard. I think he kind of quietly is their leader. Whereas Xhaka, so I hate being this guy. It usually happens in hockey, where you've got the one guy who's the guy who will like run his face through a wood chipper to get the puck, and you've got the other guy who's also a leader because he could just do things with it that are ethereal, that are unbelievable. And I think Odegaard, when you think of Arsenal, you're more likely to think of an Odegaard as a natural fit, whereas Xhaka has a little bit of that Vieira from past years. And isn't it great for Arsenal fans that the comparisons I'm making are back into that wonderful time of theirs?
Yeah, obviously a golden era for Arsenal, it seems. Right now it's just on the horizon, the way that these young players are developing together, and they're only going to get better, right, in the next few seasons. The more I think about it, Gabriel Jesus, Andy, does he deserve to be in 4th there, maybe instead of Xhaka, and flip-flopping, moving up a few places? I mean, what are your thoughts on Jesus? And I think the impact he's had on Arsenal, goals and assists, yes, but just the general kind of momentum that he seems to have given them going forward.
Yep, you just stole all my points right there. Actually, it does feel like he has been, and we said it about Manchester City, which is interesting because he came from Manchester City playing that position nominally, sort of. That Arsenal were kind of just a striker away, and they get him. It fits on the field tactically and everything, but I think the point about kind of completing the squad and bringing in somebody who fits into the team, who has been there and has won just about everything in his career when he was at Manchester City. Like there's a ruthlessness that exists at Arsenal right now that I think has not existed since they have been very, very good. It's been a long time since I think Arsenal have stepped on the field, and every time it's just, how many are we going to blow these away by? And it seems to play out that way just about, and that included Spurs in the derby as well. Like that game was not as close as 3-1 would indicate. So it does feel like he has been that player who's pushed them up into that next tier, and I think accelerated their timetable as well. None of us saw this coming this season. Maybe a year or two down the road, if they can keep the squad together, they can nurture those young players. Instead, they brought in somebody in the very middle prime of their career and said, hey, we want to win now. We want you to elevate the rest of these young guys who you just were a handful of years ago, bring them up to your level. And I think Jesus has done that and deserves all the credit in the world for it.
Absolutely. And I think if we round out the top three that I've gone for now, and then at the end, we'll just decide who is the top five for PST to have some fun with it. I've gone for Phil Foden at number 3 and Kevin De Bruyne at number 2. I mean, those two guys have just De Bruyne this season. I mean, he's already got more assists this season than he had last season. Nick brought up a great point when we were speaking before the show, actually playing in a slightly different role, not playing as a false 9. So he's a pure creator, which is why he's got 9 assists already, and he's outperforming his XA for the expected assists. So yeah, I think you can't really argue with that, right, gents? I mean, Foden's, again, it seems to have taken his game to a new level, and it's crazy to think how young he is still. Do we have any arguments with those two being that high?
Listen, this is my favorite point to make. And every week it seems more and more likely that it's been appropriate, even though I did it a little early. Of course it's appropriate, because we're looking at a team that legitimately has a possibility of being a historic club. And I keep going back. Every time I thought when we got to this point, I was going to be making fun of you a little bit like Joe. 4 of the top 5 players are really from Man City. But if this were 2008, 2009, and I were telling you that Xavi, Lionel Messi, and Andres Iniesta were at the top of the La Liga player power rankings, you would. And the sooner we come to terms with the fact, not that they're going to do it, but that this Man City team has the ingredients to be an all-time, if not the all-time team. If this team were doing it in a more traditional power sweater, tonight's opening night for hockey, go Sabres, sorry, in a traditional soccer power jersey, I think we would all be saying, oh my God, look at Manchester United. Whoa, look at Arsenal. Look at Chelsea. But because it's Man City and there are just different connotations that the club carries with them via its huge rise, we're not looking at them yet as we would have. Because if this were a massive, and City is a massive club, don't get me wrong, but a massive power that's been doing it for 40 years, you'd be saying, is this the best we've ever seen? Because look at what we did with Liverpool 2 years ago, right? When they were playing with Man City and at their level. So I just think we have to start using the metric of, could this be the best ever?
Andy, talking of the best ever, number 1, Erling Haaland. I mean, it's still early days in his career, but what a start to life in the Premier League. He's ripping up all the record books, scoring hat-tricks galore. For me, he has to be at the top of the form. I know people will say, well, he's got a great team around him. That's why he's getting all these chances. He's putting them away. He still has to do what is the hardest part of the game, in my opinion, to actually finish off these chances. And it's not like people don't know who he is or aren't doubling up on him or who aren't making special plans for him. But it's just blown us all away, right? With how quickly he settled into life in the Premier League. And as much as we really liked him and thought he's a great player, I don't think any of us thought he'd be this good this soon. So he's at number 1, right? There's no debate about that.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just enjoying the fact that 1, we get to watch him, and 2, the 3 of us get to watch and cover what he and this team are doing right now. Like it really is as simple as that, because I think we've said everything you can about why he's good, how good he is, how many goals he scored, how many goals he's gonna score. Like all those things almost don't matter now, because The numbers are so obscene. Like, I think we're going to see Messi-like numbers from him this season in the Premier League. And that is the most incredible thing, because you play the 20th best team or the 19th or the 15th or the 12th or the 8th best team in the Premier League. It's a lot different than playing that same comparable team in the Spanish league. It just is. And if he's able to do this and stay healthy all season, we will remember 2022-23 Erling Haaland for literally ever.
He scored 20 goals in 13 games in all competitions so far this season, and he is on pace to score 63 Premier League goals this season. And the record in Premier League history in a 38-game season for the most goals in a single season is Mo Salah with 32. So he'd nearly double that if he continues on this tear. So, yeah, there's my top 5 on the latest player power rankings. So head over to PST for the full list of 20. Jen, since we've been talking, I think I'm going to shift a few around real quick. I just want to say, we agree with Gabriel Jesus at 5, Phil Foden at 4, Granit Xhaka at 3, Kevin De Bruyne at 2, and Erling Haaland at 1. I thought you made some good points about Xhaka and spirit animal, and I wanted to get Jesus in there as well. So we all okay with that? Top 5?
So can I say one thing? There are 2 players who are not in those 2 teams that I think deserve a quick shout.
Yes.
And you mentioned Reece James earlier. I looked up his numbers because I wanted to compare him to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and his numbers are basically the Messi of wingbacks. He's having an unbelievable season. And then Harry Kane. Harry Kane is leading the league in goals, asterisk, Erling Haaland. He's scoring in almost every game, and he's not even at his best. And I think it's almost a shame. It's going to change at the World Cup because he's England's captain, right? But Harry Kane, spare a thought for him. He looks unbelievable.
Absolutely. And I want to mention a few names. That's what we're going to get to at the end. I think guys like, obviously, Gabriel Martinelli, William Saliba, Kieran Trippier and Bruno at Newcastle have had really good seasons. Bukayo Saka, Odegaard, who you mentioned, Nick. And then people like, Iwobi, Akanji have had really good starts to the season. Thomas Partey at Arsenal as well. So, simply put, there's a lot of very, very good players in the Premier League. So this top 20 list each week is very, very difficult to put together. Maybe I can extend it to 25 or 30 just to get a few more superstars in there. But head over to PST for the full list of 20 and debate galore in the comments, because I'm sure we've opened up a bit of a can of worms there, lads, on the top 5. But hey, there is no right or wrong answer. That's what everyone should remember.
There is. It's Haaland is number 1.
Yeah, that is true. Apart from that.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.